Hey there, thanks so much for your interest in learning more about my concept of money notes. Now really what we're doing here is we're taking this jazz education concept of upper structures and we're just simplifying it for us bass players. And we're going to do that by thinking about, not scales, but thinking about groupings of notes. 3-note groupings, 4-note groupings, 5-note groupings, even 6-note groupings. What I'm going to show you today is just on one chord. I've got a system for applying this to all of our major chord types. But we're going to just think about this idea of just 3 notes to start. 3 notes, a triad, right? I also think about 3 notes as a triangle. Let's take a D major triad. D, F sharp, A, okay? I think of that triad as, especially on the bass guitar, as triangle, okay? Now, this triad is an upper structure or is a shape that gives us the 7th, 9th, and 11th of an E minor sound, an E minor 7th chord. So if I have an E minor 7th chord, if I play a D minor triad over that, okay, I get sort of a minor sound or a sus type sound. But if this is E minor 7th, if somebody is playing this sound and we play, okay, D major triad, we're bringing out the 7th, 9th, and the 11th. Okay, so that's what I call a triangle, all right? And we're doing that from a target note. Our target note is D natural. D natural is what note of an E minor 7th chord? What chord tone is that? 7th, right? So the way I think about this sound is target 7 triangle. Target 7 triangle, meaning I'm targeting the 7th note, that D, and triangle. I'm just playing a triad over that, okay? Now there's another way I think about this, and it involves the shape of a rectangle, okay? So let's say I want to bring out all the extensions on this. So if I want to bring out the 9th, the 11th, and the 13th, okay? So the 9th is going to be F sharp, the 11th is A, and the 13th is C sharp, right? That's an F sharp minor triad. So the way in my brain, the way I think about a minor triad as a shape is rectangle. Maybe in a future video I'll add a little fretboard diagram here, but you can see that basically in my mind looks like a rectangle or a box. So if I want this sound, my target note is that F sharp, which is the 9th. So I think to myself, target 9 rectangle, okay? So that immediately gets us to playing these colors over a bass note, over a chord, without thinking about scales. Now, the reason this is so effective is because if you know from my previous, some other videos of mine, I'm really interested in the idea of entry points, okay? So what can we do even when we're not feeling inspired, when we're not hearing any ideas? So last week I sent out an email about, you're about to take a solo, you're at that launch point, all right, and how to get in the right mindset of it. Well, what if we're at that launch point, we're about to take a solo, and we're just not hearing anything, we're not hearing any ideas? Well, if I just think to myself, all right, we're basically either we're playing an E minor or we're in a tune where the key center is E minor, I can think to myself, target 7, triangle, or target 9, rectangle. Now, this takes some practice to work on getting this stuff quick, right? But it makes a lot more sense to me to do that than to think, okay, upper structure triad from the 7th degree. I mean, I can think that way too, but a lot of people, it's already too much friction right there, right? So again, just in this example, what I want you to do is just play a D major triad, right? And play an E over the bass. And if you really want to hear that minor sound, we'll want to bring in that G. Okay? We have that 7th, 9th, and the 11th. If you want to bring out the 9th, the 11th, and the 13th, our target note is going to be F sharp. We're going to play this rectangle shape, this box shape. Another reason why I like thinking about these shapes like this is because once this gets me in that zone, And again, I don't have to think about anything. There's no inspiration happening here. It's just mathematically, I'm thinking, okay, you know, I want to bring out the sound of the 11th and the 13th. So I think target note 9th, box, target note rectangle, right? Okay. Now, once I have the perimeters of that shape, I can then start to create lines once I'm in that area, once I'm in that entry point, once I've entered into this zone. So it takes some steps, and I have a process of getting us to that point where we can build lines and add chromaticism into it. But first, we need to have an understanding of what this shape is, and I mean that in the sense of the jazz term. Musicians talk about shapes as just an idea, a shape just being an idea. But I also mean in terms of if we're playing, you know, either this, which is a guitar-based instrument, we're always talking about shapes. Same concept will work on upright bass. You know, your fingers still go into little shapes. Okay, so this is a way of really what this process does is it kind of solves 3 or 4 things for us. 1, it gets us playing these extensions. 2, it gives us material that is going to just mathematically work even if we're not feeling inspired, right? It gives us the option, gives us that entry point. And 3, by giving us that entry point and that sort of shape, that perimeter, that's a place now that we can start building lines in that area. If you like this video, let me know, because I'm going to be sending out more tips along this concept. But part of this is also really coming from the idea that if you've studied with me before, you know that I've talked about this today. Here's all the scales go approach doesn't, you know, really work for many people. Another benefit of this thing that I'm showing you now is that it's so much more amenable to creating phrases. Instead of thinking about 7 notes, I just have 3 notes or 4 notes or 5 notes. Hope that was helpful. Hit me back with any questions that you have. I really want to get a dialogue going here with you folks on this. And let me know how your progress is going on incorporating these extensions. See you soon.